Rivers State High Court in Port Harcourt has nullified the congresses of the All Progressive Congress in the state. The court's decision follows a contempt of court proceeding filed by the embattled chairman of the party, Emeka Beke. The court had earlier issued an order stopping the conduct of the congresses in the state, but the APC went ahead to hold the process, prompting the embattled members of the party to return to court. Justice Godswill Obomanu, after listening to the presentations and submissions of the councils, nullified the congresses of the party, citing contempt of court. The ruling effectively renders the congresses which produced Chief Tony Okocha null and void. Let me start with you. Finally, this development is the latest in a series of controversies surrounding the APC congresses in Rivers State. Barrister Jamala, what do you make of this story?
Chama, I think the APC has refused to learn from its own woes that personally inflicted. Was
that 2019?
2018, 2019.
Yes.
When some of their members decided to be willing tools for the other political parties like the PDP to thrive on. Now, in 2018, prior to the 2019 election, there are the issues that arose at that time. First was for the Congress, selection of leadership. Now, it was mixed with the inter-parties primaries preparatory for 2019 general elections. And so when my Lord, Honorable Justice Nwogu then gave another interim preventing the holding of the congresses, the APC then, in its own wisdom, proceeded with that congress. And we're all aware what happened. The congresses was declared null and void for being flagrant abuse of court's orders, and whatever that was placed on it, talking about the primaries, was also brought down, having no foundation to grow on. And so that's ordinarily, APC would have learned from that bitter lesson of not having candidates throughout the entire states in that 2019 election. But yes, the persons who then were clamoring for democratic procedures, tenets to be respected in the APC, sadly, are the ones in charge of the affairs and are been seen to repeat the exact mistakes that they cried foul about. And so I now ask myself, it seems politicians, when it is favorable to you, you sing hallelujah, but when it is not, you cry to the heavens. But what the court has done is something even the Supreme Court, remember the Supreme Court said you cannot benefit from your own stupidity. That was the decision of the Supreme Court in Ibrahim Umar, the case of 2018-2019. And so what the court did, yes, we have been given an interim order. Hold on with your congresses. Why the rush? Why not take the legal steps, at least to vacate that order? When that order is vacated, you can now proceed. You have been acting as a caretaker committee chairman for the past 6 months, giving yourself the next 1, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month. Don't have brought them to this sad end that they have found themselves. But like we said, it is a court of first instance, but if we are to follow judicial precedents, Rivers State being the pace setter negatively when it comes to some political activities, then I do not see the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court setting aside the judgment. It's a very strong judgment based, rooted in law. Rooted, the judgment is rooted in law.
All right.
Tony Okocha and his leaders or members have been operating. Remember the caretaker committee also, in quote, has been set aside by the court of law. But they still parade themselves as caretaker committee, then conducted the congresses. So even that congress, from whichever angle you look at it, we were not conducted by the rightful leadership of the political party.
Now, there have been arguments in some quarters. I also have had one of the APC SEC members on my show, particularly after this Congress was held, and I asked him, why were you at the Congresses? Because, I mean, when I was reading the news, his name was in the news, and he was seated right by my side. Yes. And after that, and I asked him, your name is in the news. Why did you attend that Congress? Knowing fully well that he has always been the person saying the governor should obey court order. So why did you and your party in this instance that have been vocal in critiquing the governor's certain positions when it comes to court judgments? Why have you been the one? Why are you now the one disobeying court order? Now, moving forward, the answer that he gave me was that the court does not have jurisdiction in the first instance to even give that order. He now said that there was a first order from the Federal High Court and they vacated it at the appeal court. Now ask the question, why didn't you make a move to vacate this one from the Rivers State High Court? He's saying that the Rivers State High Court lacks jurisdiction to entertain that matter. So now, what do you have to say?
We live in a, Chama will not even waste time in answering that question. We live in, we live in a democratic process that all activities of government and its citizens are being regulated by procedures. There is a pronouncement in the in court that says no matter how stupid the judgment of court is, it has to be respected until vacated. It doesn't lie within the arms or the mouth of that person to say a court lacks jurisdiction and therefore will not obey the judgment of court. You must take that judicial process steps to see that that order is vacated. Once an order is given, no matter how stupid it is, you are bound to respect it. That was the same mistake or the same ignorance the APC then wallowed. But the issue of jurisdiction is something that sometimes it marvels me. Now, a court lacks jurisdiction with respect to internal political affairs, but not to the interpretation of the sections of that constitution of the political party. So members of the political party have not been able to separate these two tiny issues together. To
I was actually coming to that. Yes, that was actually my next question.
To say when does a political party, when does a court has jurisdiction and when does a court fails to have jurisdiction. Issues that call the cause for the questioning of the provisions of the party's constitution are something that you will lay before the court. But now, there are other things that will preempt or evoke the jurisdiction of court, like what they call internal mechanisms. Now, in Ibrahim Umar, I actively participated. In Ibrahim Umar, the argument of the then APC leadership in court is that these persons who alleged to first bought the forms and they were refused or denied the forms never passed through the internal mechanisms of the party to ventilate their grievances before coming to court. There is what they call in some agreements, one they call a pre-action notice, that if we are entering into a contract and you intend to take me to court, if I breach a contract, you must give me a pre-action notice depending on the terms of the agreement, some 30 days, some 2 weeks, some 7 days. Then there are some other agreements that state before you take me to court as a party in that contract, you must first explore an ADR.
Okay.
So if you fail to take these steps, you cannot jump into the court. It is a prerequisite for you to institute an action. So for the APC and PDP constitution is well stated. If a party is aggrieved, you must pass through the internal... A party member is aggrieved, sorry. You must pass through the internal mechanisms of dispute resolutions of the party before you can make your actions in court, because the party cannot stop you from exercising a right provided for in the constitution. So, but you must pass through the internal mechanisms. And the Supreme Court has held that political parties' constitutions is like a court. For you to belong to an association, you voluntarily decide to belong to that association, and therefore you must be bound by the provisions of that law. And if you're no longer satisfied with the provisions of that law, of that association, you back out. But for the fact that you intend to remain a member, you must be seen to be bound by the provisions of that constitution. So for whoever that is saying that the court lacks jurisdiction, and therefore, in their own wisdom, they will not follow, the evil days are close. Right. They will just wait to see those evil days.
I will still get back to you on the issue of courts intervening in internal party crisis. I'll still get back to you on that. But before we get back to that conversation, Ifeanyi, what do you make of this story?
The story is just that the Nigerian system does not respect her own laws. Because if Nigerian system respects her own laws, I don't think that we'll be having this back and forth. And it is quite amazing that Nigerian politicians have a very shallow historical memory. Like the barristers have said, you recall that 2018-2019, Rivers State APC was not on the ballot, and we had that play out in Zamfara State some time ago. You also know that some people are in the business of, if I can't get it, let us pull it down. Again, it takes me to what P2B refers to as a state capture. If those political actors are not being, leveraging on the federal might or whoever is beating the embers of this crisis for them, giving them the hope that we are there. After all, every case has been won in Rivers State at the first course of instance. That's even funny. Once there is a case in Rivers State instituted, maybe by going by what they call the jurisdiction of the court, giving the case in sight, most of the cases of the governor and those in his camp, those in APC and APP and all that, have always been within the state high courts. And when they go there, they also obtain their own judgment to the Uhuru of the governor and his camp. But immediately that particular case is appealed, goes to the higher court, you see to a sense that those cases are being quashed. Because I had Tony Okocha before this issue started. I had Tony Okocha because I was seated in a station where Tony Okocha came for a live program. Tony Okocha, the anchor of the program, asked him, now that the case, that was when he was parading himself as the CTC of APC in Rivers State, and said that a case is instituted against you. What do you make of the outcome? Why not wait for the outcome of the state? He clearly stated that he has already preempted the outcome of the case in the lower court, that he will appeal the case, and he is of a hope that he will get judgment at the Court of Appeal. That is Nigeria. So he went ahead to do what he is doing, even when a state high court has already invalidated his CTC chairman. He now went to appeal. That appeal is still not heard till today, but they have went ahead to organize a congress where the chairman of PDP National, in the person of Ganduje, has sworn him in the flagrant disobedience of APC. Ganduje has sworn him in as the authentic chairman of APC in Rivers State. In the flagrant disobedience of that particular case, he has appealed that have not been heard. So you see, to a sense
there
that
are two different. You're mixing it up.
No,
you're mixing it up.
Okay.
There was a case. There was an injunction from a federal high court barring Rivers State Congress.
Yes.
And Tony Okocha's faction appealed it in the appeal court, and they got stay of they vacated that.
Okay, for the Congress.
Then another few days to the Congresses, there was another court injunction, this time around from a Rivers State High Court.
Yes.
But you understand?
Yes.
And they did not vacate that one. They
Yes.
just went ahead with the Congress. So this judgment is coming in line with the second injunction that they did not vacate.
No, you're talking about, I know where I'm coming from. You're talking about the cases surrounding the Congress. But I'm talking about the case in hand that authenticated the Emeka Beke-led APC. That is what I'm talking about. They also appealed it, but it has not been heard. It has not been heard. It has not been heard.
Hold on. If you're talking about that one, then there was another case, probably I'll remind you of. Prior to this last judgment that reinstated Emeka Beke,
yes,
there was a judgment that removed Emeka Beke.
Yes, of course.
And Emeka Beke appealed that judgment.
That judgment.
And it has not been heard as well.
Sorry. So
Yes.
that we'll get our terminologies right.
You're right.
It was an interim order.
Okay.
Given by my Lord Honorable Justice, I think my memory serves me right, Bassam.
Mm-hmm.
Preventing Emeka Beke and the state legal from parading themselves as executive. Now, Emeka Beke appealed that interim order. But that suit at the court of first instance was later withdrawn. And the suit that has been struck out, all others interim made in the lifespan of that suit dies with it. So that suit died a natural death.
After it was withdrawn.
So there was no need of Emeka Beke pursuing the appeal again at the Court of Appeal. And so that appeal also was withdrawn.
So why then was Tony Okocha, when he was addressing press at a point in time, because I remember clearly.
It's a selective.
After the judgment came, you know, in favor of Emeka Beke, when Tony Okocha was speaking or reacting to that judgment, he made reference to an earlier judgment that
what's his name? The state legal advisor and Emeka Beke, they appealed these judgments, this interim order, while the substantive suit was still pending at the Rivers State High Court. Now, that substantive suit
was withdrawn.
The person who initiated that suit withdrew that substantive suit, and the court struck out the process. So, interim orders made in that suit naturally died upon the suit being upon that suit being struck out. And so there was no need to pursue something that was no longer in existence.
Thank you for that clarification. That makes a lot of sense. Now go ahead.
So where I want to go with my line of thought is this. The Nigerian state politically exposed actors are not doing themselves any good, because like in Rivers State, we know the state of APC. APC is deeply factionalized, and all of them are parading themselves as the legally recognized APC executives in the state, and that did not abate it, because the federal, that's the national APC, is now siding the Tony Okocha-led APC executive, which the court has already, barred from going ahead to conduct congresses and going ahead to parade himself, which I knew there was a time he respected that. He was not acting as an interested party who is he said he's a statesman, or there's a name he was giving himself when he was obeying that particular court order that nullified him as the caretaker committee chairman of APC. So this time around, APC National is not helping issues. And look at it. If, like the barrister was saying, APC in the state cannot win any state freely and fairly conducted election. Now, APC is fighting to align with the PDP being led by the deputy minister. Why I said so is that APC on its own know that they are not capable of achieving anything in Rivers State as it stands now. Then PDP, they are working with PDPs in the state, while like the barrister said, if peradventure APC is not allowed to present any candidate, well, they didn't lose anything, because APC National and the Rivers State PDP are working hand in glove. The benefit of PDP in the state is the benefit of APC, both state and national, because what is happening in this kind of face-off is this: Emeka Beke has pledged allegiance to the deputy minister. Tony Okocha has pledged allegiance to the deputy minister, while Emeka Beke is fighting for the soul and the survival of APC in the state.
To the governor.
That's what I'm saying. To now, he's now playing the politics in Rivers State with the governor of Rivers State. That means APC in Rivers State is already dead. So whatever Tony Okocha is fighting for, whatever the support he's getting, he has his hopes hanged around the national, and unfortunately, whatever legal action that is instituted in the federal, Tony Okocha is heavily relying that he's going to get judgment from there. So when you talk about party supremacy and who is going to play the party card, is the national that has the interest of the party and has favored Tony Okocha. In this regard, I'm saying it emphatically that Emeka Beke has no he has no place, even with his movement, with all the cases that have been instituted by his own faction. At the end of the day, even if Emeka Beke gets those judgments that Barrister Gifton Jamala is saying, at the end of the day, the people that have the final say is the APC National. So where does Emeka Beke stand?
Stoma,
he might be going with the... Yes.
Can I come into...
let him
Emeka Beke might be going with his high hopes in the judiciary. But at the end of the day, who is going to play the party politics? The National has recognized Tony Okocha, and there is nothing Emeka Beke can do about it. Emeka Beke may continue to float until the expiration of his tenure. And once the National has already anointed Tony Okocha, I don't think there is much Emeka Beke will do in this regard, even when the courts and the judgments may turn out in his favor. That's my submission.
If the courts, if the judgments turn out in his favor. Now, to a large extent, let me ask you a very fundamental question. What is the primary function of a political party?
The primary function of a political party is to field candidates for elective positions, to win elections.
Basically to win elections. Yes. Now, very well. Okay, let's say Tony Okocha now has the blessings of the National. And Emeka Beke is relying heavily on the judiciary. I'm going by what I said. Your analysis.
Yes.
Emeka Beke is relying heavily on the judiciary. Now, the National plays their politics and all of that. And let's say 2027, this bickering continues, and
Emeka Beke serves out his tenure.
Do you see, let's just even say, for example, there has to be an election within this period.
Yes.
Do you see APC fielding candidates successfully, even though the APC Rivers State, led by Tony Okocha, may have the backing of the National? Didn't that play out in 2029? The National APC Rivers State 2019. APC had Rivers State had the backing of the National, didn't they? But at the end of the day, the court had their way.
But okay, let me answer your question.
So at the end of the day, in 2019, was APC able to fulfill their primary responsibility, which is to win an election?
They were not. And look at I want to make your question in exposing this reminded me something. Look at where politics comes in. The then President Muhammadu Buhari, you know him very well. He was not interested in other, but with Tinubu and Ganduje in APC, and they have their interests cut out. So
they will circumvent the judicial procedure.
That is, even if the judicial procedure. No. What I'm saying is that with their interests heavily surrounded around the Tony Okocha as a person, and whatever Tony Okocha dictates is where they are aligning. They have been stifling of Emeka Beke of funds, and they are not recognizing whatever he's doing. And remember that when primaries are to be conducted, the National sends delegates. Delegates. And also, if you want to buy a form, it is also the National that makes the forms available.
Right.
So at the end of the day, assuming Tony Okocha's group purchases a form, and through the law courts, Emeka Beke goes, and at the end of the APC have no candidate. APC didn't lose. I made that assertion. But as it stands, why APC did not field candidates was because of the indifference of the person of the then president, Muhammadu Buhari, who was not interested in whatever politics. Yes, he was indifferent, because if he was interested in making sure that APC gets fields a candidate, believe you me, the federal would have done their politics, and they would have
circumvented the judiciary
with the party supremacy that they
would have bent the judiciary.
Of course, this is this could be achievable, because anything happens in Nigeria, especially when party politics is involved.
Now this is a doorstep. I think you have to defend the integrity of the judiciary at this point.
I am not here to defend the integrity of the judiciary. I'm only here to speak
judiciary is not potent
as though
enough.
we are in a sane climb.
Yes.
Ordinarily,
That is where I was coming from.
I want
Which
to
means we
speak
are actually not in the same class.
in some, we are not to the
Which gives a
extent-
little credence, which gives a lot of credence to what he has
not
said.
the obvious. The way he has stated this is making it look like we living in a banana republic. That the president
But
and,
this
the
is politics.
and the political power, political or party in power, can influence
The judiciary.
the judiciary. He's saying it on the live national TV. And so that is a point I'm
And
making.
which
Then
is,
two-
you know, the
then
obvious.
he talks about APC not losing if all these procedures, all these processes,
Cumulating
get-
to them not fielding a
not,
candidate.
yes, cumulating to them not fielding a candidate that APC will not lose. The
lose.
politics of 2019 headed by General Muhammadu Buhari is different from that being orchestrated and superintended by Tinubu.
That is it.
Tinubu will not live to see his own political party. Let's leave about the influence of physically present in the PDP but spiritual-minded in the APC. Before 2027 election, if Wike refuses to take a stand, either he belongs to the PDP or he belongs to the APC will make him take that stand. Because the Ganduje, as a national chairman of the party, and Tinubu would not want to see that they will fail in Rivers State or they will leave to field candidate in Rivers State because they will have candidates in APC and in PDP. That is not the kind of politics Tinubu will want to.
But that is what they are playing in Rivers State.
Involve
It's
himself.
politics.
That's what they are playing
That
in
is
Rivers
not
State.
Politics is all about negotiation.
The politics of negotiation to the extent that you remain here and destroy while our own party survives. That is the politics.
I really do not want to go deep into analyzing politics.
That is
what I've said
As I told
stands.
you that there could be an agreement.
Of course.
PDP takes the state, or PDP delivers the state to the presidency.
What happened
You
in
see something like
2023?
that playing out.
I am
It happened in
coming, but
2023.
not to the extent that APC will say we should not have candidates.
Well, what is interesting?
There are pseudo candidates. Just like the local government elections were conducted, we have pseudo candidates. Same in political primaries. We have pseudo candidates who I'll give you money, go and buy form, on the date of the election, announce you're stepping down in my favor. And so if you look at that, it may happen, but let's not even think to that extent. Let's think to the extent that we as politicians, we imbibe the culture of respecting the rule of law, believing that the process should thrive and not the will of the mind. Because if we continue in that trajectory, the story of the higgledy-piggledy, where everyone survives at his own minds, that's where we are turning Nigeria to. So we do not want to get to that stage. And so let's preach.
With everything that is going on, Jamala, genuinely,
Yes.
with everything that has been going on politically, at the federal level, state level, local government level, disobedience to court judgments, turning the law on its head, with everything that has been going on, with the level of influence that politicians are wielding right now, the arrogant and brazen disobedience to court orders and judgments. How do you see that playing out?
I blame the judiciary. To the extent that the judiciary has not been able to sanitize itself.
Okay.
Once the judiciary takes that step, the society will stand still and will find ourselves orderly coordinated. Now, I have mentioned that some of the processes, some of the actions of government and politicians, in quotes, that have led us to where we are is because if you look at the selection process of judges, the other day when this nullification came, Tony Okocha laid the fact that the person who nullified his congresses was a relation to the governor. So he has removed the aspect of the law. He has not asked himself, assuming, okay, let me remove the messenger. Let me look at the message. Was he right in that decision? Now, if you look at how our judges are appointed, if you do not have a strong politician who can recommend you, you will not be appointed, no matter how brilliant you are. In fact, one of the judges that Fobara inaugurated came first when he was sent for screening at the National Judicial Council in Abuja. He came first. But out of personal reasons, the then governor refused to to swear him in. So the brilliant ones are left, while political interest, and if you influence my process of getting to the top, and you're asking me for a very minute favor, don't you think in all good conscience and morality, I owe you that obligation? So let the judiciary stand firm, learn how to look inward, purge themselves of the slight few ones. There are very few. But those few ones, a judgment given by one negative-minded judge takes...
Has a ripple effect.
Has a ripple effect over above 1,000 decisions given by 1,000 noble men or in the bench. So once we purge ourselves,
right,
when the judiciary purges itself of these elements who have made themselves vulnerable to political maneuvering and influence, then Nigeria will stand aright.
Pending when that happens.
Yes, pending that when that happens. We'll continue.
We'll come back to what Ifeanyi Chukwu has been saying.
I will not subscribe to that.
Loresha, there is something I want to say, because I had Barrister Gift yesterday on a radio station. So the anchor asked me a question. I want to bring it from all the yes, I had him yesterday when they were talking about the law or something. So either yesterday or on Friday, I can't remember. But see, he's talking about the judiciary purging itself. Judiciary is not the law enforcement agent. If they give out, if peradventure a judge says somebody has committed a contempt of court, or give a warrant, or for somebody to be produced to the court by all means possible, and all these kind of political actors that we have, because believe it or yes, our political atmosphere have been polluted by people that are sentiment and biased, and the interest and greed that we see is what has kept us where we are. Nigeria have a beautiful law. The constitution is not our problem, but the implementation of that constitution to the core is the problem of Nigeria. Somebody was sentenced to death by stealing a fowl, while somebody who stole billions was given 500 million bail to even go and recoup and come back. This is the same system. Look at this. If the judge, Barrister Jamala, is sitting here and saying that they should purge themselves, gives a judgment from his temple of justice, and those who are to enforce it are hand-tied, because it is the executive that will give the order. The executive controls the military, the police, and all the law enforcement apparatus. At the end of the day, what will the judge do? The judge is handicapped. So those judges that are looking at the scenario and the Nigerian political space, and they're giving out the kind of judgments they're giving out, even when the NJC punishes them or gives them a reprimandable measure, the end of the day, they come back and they continue in their impunity. Why is impunity festering? It's because the judge can give order, do this. At the end of the day, the executive that should lead the enforcement is not willing to do that. What will the judges do? How will the judge who has turned out a judgment be the enforcer again? So I don't blame it totally to the doorsteps of the judges. This is my own submission, right, because they don't have that means of enforcing their own judgment, which they have turned out on the person that it should be meted out to. Yes, that is my submission.
Your concern has always been the concern of several bar and bench men, but we live in we practice a system of government that talks about separation of powers.
Yes.
Do your own, let me do my own. Allow the judges to be right in their fair, in their own judgment. Then we can now complain about the executive not enforcing. In some jurisdictions, we have the sheriffs of courts. Those are the enforcers of judgment. That is being canvassed in Nigeria, but let our judgment be right first before we talk of enforcement.
Right.